This is what you get when you go diving in the same dumpster over and over again. However, the sooner we do this, the sooner it will be over with. Alright, folks. Here it is. Thief in the Night, Part 3. This third installment of A Thief in the Night is entitled Image of the Beast. It stars Patty Dunning, well, at least briefly, whom you may remember from parts 1 and 2. William Wellman Jr., whom many of us remember solely as the astronaut in that one episode of The Brady Bunch. Susan Plum, who does not appear to be related to Eve Plum from The Brady Bunch. And our favorite producer and writer, Russell as Doughton Jr., who also had absolutely nothing to do with The Brady Bunch. However, it's rumored he is an unaccredited director for 1958's The Blob. I'm still not sure how I feel about that. Anyway, if you have not yet watched my reviews of Part 1 and 2, I do recommend you stop this video right now and click on those links in the description below to make sure you see those first so you will not be hopelessly lost. Unlike the rest of us who are just hopeless. Moving on. We start with the slowest 30-second scroll about the Book of Revelation and the catastrophe the world will be during the end times. Then a Bible verse about wizards that peep and mutter. Peeping wizards?
Leaping lizards!
Shut up, Annie. The opening credits sequence is very heavily pushing a computer theme for this installment. Stop trying to make the movie seem more tech-savvy than it actually is. Electrical Larry David. Now. Stunts! Goody, we have stunts this time. The credits end with the statement that God's love is greater than his judgment, which is why you have 4 whole movies dedicated to God choosing which people to take to heaven and which people to let suffer through the tribulation. We find ourselves at a grocery store shortly before the rapture. My God, how much easier would life be if barcodes were that big on everything? Kathy's husband suggests she buy this random book about computers because, as we established at the checkout lane, she works at Computers Incorporated. How delightfully vague.
When's your due date?
Oh, 3 long weeks.
You'll make it.
Why, yes, you do recognize her. That is Patty, our previous protagonist, performing that grocery store cashier job that was never mentioned anywhere in the previous films. Patty asks if they really want that book because it's a religious book about people who worship computers. Kathy's husband says the girls need to open their minds and hearts to the prophecies of the tribulation or else they will be in for a rude awakening. We get it! Patty was told 1,000,000 times to become a Christian before the rapture, yada yada yada, shame on her, moving on. We cut to where the previous film ended at Wenda's beheading. I would definitely call that awakening rude. Wait a minute. I thought so. Dirty little Christian copycats. Sandy's hair became more sandy, and her clothes changed in just a couple of minutes. Yes, our little trader from a distant thunder has certainly grown up.
Life is real, Patty. Can't you see? That guillotine is real.
Really? Is it really? Because I am definitely questioning that. Patty is dragged up to the guillotine. Brother Unibrow looks concerned until he hears distant thunder. Oh, now there's distant thunder. Where were you a whole movie ago? Cliff Clavin, no! Patty is asked if she wants to renounce her faith in God, and if so, she will be returned to her rightful place in society. Feel like she should make a decision now. The tribulation's nothing to lose your head over. Oh, that's right. As Patty is being strapped down to the guillotine, a storm rolls in. The sky becomes immediately black and there's a random earthquake. Patty panics and screams that she wants the mark, but by now everyone has scattered. See, this is why you don't waste your money on a discount guillotine. It will never survive an earthquake. There's a sentence I never expected to have to say. The discount guillotine toys with us as Patty struggles to free herself until... So much for Patty. Guess we need a new protagonist now. Enter Leslie Stage Left, although her name was clearly Joanne in the previous film.
Wilcoxon, Joanne.
The filmmakers either have very short-term memories, or they simply decided Leslie is a superior name. Maybe it is. Leslie is still running around in her hospital gown from when she almost got her head chopped off, and is doing so a little too loudly as it attracts the attention of a man in a Unite uniform. He finds Leslie with Kathy, who is holding her son, Billy. The man demands to see the women's hands.
Praise God.
You mean you're not a
Praise God is right.
She seems more like a Joanne. Let's call her Joan Lee. While everything outside is randomly on fire, the women ask how David got the uniform and if he killed the soldier off of whom he stole it. He's not sure. While Kathy takes Billy out to pee, Joan Lee and David discuss how they shouldn't be frightened.
What are you thinking?
Oh, I was just wondering what would have happened if we'd met in another time.
Whoa, that escalated quickly. Suddenly we're in love? What is this, a 1940s film noir? Apparently, Joan Lee and David are Christians, but Kathy doesn't think she is.
What if one were not a believer?
My advice to that person would be stay alive as long as possible.
I would think that would be your advice to human beings in general.
After the Christians disappeared, life just went on. There wasn't much different.
Yeah, millions of people disappeared, including my husband, and then 5 days later, I gave birth to my first child and was therefore plunged into unexpected single parenthood. Just a run-of-the-mill Tuesday.
I'm not afraid anymore.
If you're not afraid, then why are you running? Kathy says that her reason for not being a Christian but not taking the mark is because of the computer prophecies book she bought at the grocery store before the rapture. There's a chapter about the mark being a way of selling your soul to the devil or something like that.
I'd rather die first.
So you believe a grocery store conspiracy theory fiction, but not the ancient holy text upon which it's based and is therefore being called true. What kind of weird hell would you be in if you had picked up L. Ron Hubbard's Dianetics that day? The group steals a Jeep and sprays the questioning Unite soldier with mud before speeding off. I see Russell and his compatriots have bought into the Surrounded by Idiots TV trope for the third installment. Buckle in for the laughs and hijinks, folks. The soldier shoots at the Jeep and Joan Lee is shot and propelled off of the Jeep in a spectacular show of unnecessary acrobatics. There's the stunt we paid for. David runs back to Joan Lee lying in the mud. Yeah, let's move the potentially damaged spine around a lot. Well, at least take her body with you, dumbass. Respect the woman you very quickly fell in love with 2 minutes ago. It turns out, though, she's not dead. Maybe David should have run her over just to make sure. Bunny. David, Kathy, and Billy sleep under the Jeep they stole because that's not conspicuous. Billy runs off like a typical 3-year-old in a movie and meanders into the cleanest barn on this side of the tribulation. And an ominous pair of feet.
Mommy.
Uh-oh, Billy's battery is dying. Yes, Reverend Crazy Church is back. It appears he served a stint in Cuba for a while and came back to be a mall Santa. David lies about their names and Crazy Church invites them back for breakfast.
Now you can go out and play.
With Unite soldiers out looking for you. Yeah, good idea, Mom. David questions if the authorities know about Reverend Crazy Church, and he says they know, but they don't know where he is.
To them, I'm just a babbling old preacher who went haywire when the Christians disappeared.
So you don't have to take the mark if you're insane? That sounds like the easiest escape plan yet.
Why didn't you disappear with the Christians?
Oh God, we're gonna get into this again. Reverend Crazy Church is a very impressive map of the tribulation. And here comes more theology. Let's try to keep up.
7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls.
Guess what, everybody? It turns out Satan is Hiram McDaniels from Welcome to Night Vale.
Satan has been in heaven accusing the saints.
Of what?
But Christ has also been there, telling God that the sins of the saints have been washed away by his blood.
And exactly why does an all-knowing God need someone to tell him that?
You think Satan's here now?
Yes! Keep seducing my little goat! Basically, Crazy Church tells them that there will be a world leader that will be assassinated, then Satan will appear to make him rise from the dead, and this reincarnation will destroy the world church, be declared superior to God, and then start an even harsher reign of terror and persecution. Why would the heathens declare someone greater than God if they don't believe in God in the first place? You got an answer for that, Crazy Church? Did you think about that one, buddy?
Doesn't Satan understand prophecy?
Why don't you explain it to him if he's there now? Because David is a dumbass, Joan Lee is now under the care of an older couple somewhere. David tells Kathy about his plan to make a counterfeit mark.
But if we could locate a hand computer, I'm close enough now for the two of us to really crack this thing open.
He's talking about one of these things. Normal people call this a calculator.
A calculator.
See, she knows.
Right now, I have a way of putting a mark on your hand that looks authentic.
Yeah, it's called a stamp. Use normal words, David. David's mark will allow them to move freely through the community, but will not allow them to transact business, as the mark will not be associated with an account. Wait, David's current mark is linked to the account of the soldier he killed, or didn't kill, the dead one. So the mark is linked to an account. Why didn't you just say so? That's not good enough, because reasons. So they will need to do more work, I guess.
What makes this mark any different from the real mark?
This is our mark, not Satan's.
So if I tattoo Tweety Bird on my butt and Warner Brothers tries to sue, does that mean I can say, that's not your Tweety Bird, that's my Tweety Bird? I don't know if that's how it works. By the way, did you check to make sure this counterfeit mark idea is something God jives with? Are you willing to risk eternal damnation for this?
This is a struggle for survival, not my commitment to Christ.
Yeah, I still feel like this isn't something God would be cool with. I don't think I'd be cool with it if I were God, and I'm a lot more easygoing than the God of the Christian Bible.
What is it?
It's that goon that shot Leslie. Let's get out of here.
You couldn't get out of there less suspiciously? This is gonna be a long tribulation. David and Kathy slip into a World Church service. Wait, the Christians disappear, but we still have to go to church? Oh, man. The speaker, preacher, whatever, is talking about how Brother Christopher, who has now been elected the leader of the Federated States of Europe, is now leading everyone, apparently. Remember what I said in that first review about the Antichrist? The Antichrist usually has a more subtle name, like Dave or Sheldon or something. Dave, Sheldon, Christopher, I think I was pretty close. Apparently, Kathy and Diane know each other. Small world, Iowa. Jerry starts interrogating David about his job with the military, and David bullshits his way out of it.
Do you want to feed him, Billy?
Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about Billy. Crazy Church says he can't take the fake mark because it would destroy his Crazy Church reputation.
In the Bible, Revelation calls her the great prostitute that commits adultery with the kings of the earth.
Actually, most theologians refer to this part of the prophecy as the whore of Babylon. Just say whore, Russell, you'll feel so much better. The interpretation of the whore of Babylon is, well, up for interpretation, but most people view it as a body of people, like this case, the World Church, as opposed to some slut just running around the world. Although if there was one, I'd like to think she looks like Belle Watlin from Gone with the Wind. Crazy Church talks about how the Antichrist will have an effigy, or what most Christians would call a graven image, placed in the new Jewish temple in Jerusalem. He talks about the 144,000 Jewish missionaries again. Well, now probably 143,999, because Ye Olde Scrubs was most likely executed in the last film. Over footage of rockets, we hear that Brother Christopher was taken down by an assassin's bullet. It turns out David borrowed a hand computer from Porn Stash. Look how stupendous the stash has become. It turns out Diane and Porn Stash are no longer at the food bank or the fire station because they are now special agents for an organization called Believers Underground Movement Squad. Which kind of sounds like they are believers.
Bums.
I beg your pardon?
Well, that makes sense considering how they wrote the first letter of each word in bold print on the ID. Why does he need a paper ID when he's got one printed on his hand? Pornstash offers David a job, and his position at Bums makes it possible for him to change David's job classification. David asks to think about it. While in town for batteries, a special report comes in.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is URN, the United Radio Network.
Earn? The radio reports that Brother Christopher has been healed and risen from the dead.
Yes, I'm alive.
Does Brother Christopher sound like Tony Randall? Oh my God, the Antichrist is Felix Unger. Well, the world will be very clean.
We've been together for some time now. And, well...
I think with everything that's going on, what you really need is a relationship with Jesus Christ.
I prefer threesomes. David tells Kathy that they made Christianity complicated before the rapture.
We complicated something that was so simple, so obvious. All we had to do was believe it.
Just because something is simple and obvious does not make it real. Winnie the Pooh is simple and obvious. That doesn't mean he's real. That one, by the way, not that one.
I'm trying to make you realize that the reason you still have an opportunity to receive Jesus is because you've never heard the plan of salvation before the rapture.
Isn't that the same reasoning Christians use to justify how children too young to know the salvation doctrine go to heaven anyway? See, by that logic, then she should have been raptured.
If you had heard it and rejected it, then you'd never again have any hope of eternal life in heaven.
Is that in the Bible?
It's 2 Thessalonians 2nd chapter.
And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. So that says if you don't believe, you're fucked. It doesn't say if you don't believe and then come back to believing, you're still fucked. Although I will point out that the very next verse from there is the one ye old scrubs quoted in A Distant Thunder.
And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in righteousness.
Which implies that God holds grudges, and he will purposely keep you from believing again once you reject him. Oh, but as far as the east is from the west, so far hath he removed our transgressions from us. Somebody's lying here. Kathy is resistant to the idea of becoming a Christian, but like Patty, doesn't give any good reason why. The news is reporting that Brother Christopher had 2 religious fanatics in Jerusalem killed. Apparently, these guys were important. Crazy Church says that now Satan has possessed Brother Christopher. The next day, David tells Kathy at the grocery store that she must finish her purchase before he starts his, or else they will be caught using the same account. So instead of the logical choice of just browsing around the store until she leaves and then getting in line, or even getting in the same line as her farther back to make sure she leaves first, he gets in a nearby checkout lane. Through a series of contrived events, Kathy is delayed and David's checkout speeds up. Alarms go off. We are taken on an oh-so-epic chase sequence. There are no words. Yay, more stunts! We're really getting our money's worth. David is captured, and they apparently don't bother checking the back of the Unite hearse, so Kathy escapes. Pornstache is now pissed that David fooled him and even borrowed a calculator from him to try and make a counterfeit mark. How did he know that? Did David crack that easily?
So what happens next?
You forgot your script again, didn't you? Crazy Church has great news! The tribulation is about to get worse with the start of the first trumpet. You may remember us talking about the 7 seals in the last review. Now we get into the 7 trumpets. Instead of seals opening to start the different apocalyptic eras, now trumpets will sound to do it instead. God got bored opening seals over and over again?
1/3 of the sun, moon, and stars will go dark.
You do know that the moon's not an actual light source, right? You should know that by now. It's understandable that the men who wrote the Bible didn't know that back in those days. But you'd think if God was inspiring these words, he would have mentioned it to somebody.
What a frightful creature this locust will be. Wings that sound like thundering horses rushing into battle. And worse, they have long tails and stings like scorpions.
So it flies like a butterfly and stings like a bee?
The sting is terrible. It doesn't kill you, it just leaves you in a state of torment for 5 months.
So it actually puts you in a place called torment, or it just hurts really, really bad?
The 7th trumpet is a review of all the others.
So like the tribulation curtain call. Kathy, meanwhile, keeps working on the code. Someone convinces Pornstache to release David in hopes that he will lead them to Kathy.
Give him a pair of boots, plant a transmitter, and tail him.
Murder, fraud, resisting the authorities, trying to infiltrate our security system. Hey, not to mention the fool you made out of me.
The biggest but easiest crime of all. Crazy Church says that the computer has ruined humanity because one has been placed in the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. He is, of course, referring to the graven image of the Antichrist, which appears to be an extremely lifelike animatronic. It is so realistic looking, it's real. It's a real guy. Don't fall for it. Is he sitting on the Ark of the Covenant? That can't be right. We all know the Ark is in this storehouse. Amazing how they found so many blonde, white Middle Easterners in Jerusalem. As the world burns, Crazy Church, Kathy, and Billy are in the most wrinkled cave. David finds his way there somehow. For reasons they clumsily don't explain, Kathy, Billy, and David have to leave Crazy Church and move to a place that did not get burned. Billy announces that he found a great hiding spot. Don't tell the movie where it is, now you can get out. As prophesied, the river becomes contaminated. David somehow makes a contact with a woman who wants to meet him to talk about the code he's trying to make. They clearly couldn't figure out how this could possibly happen, so they just don't tell us. David leaves to meet the woman. Kathy cries over her calculator. Believe in the barcode! That's why they made it so obnoxious, because it's supposed to be a clue. So, it took them over a year to figure out that this thing they're scanning in a store is kind of like a barcode. What? David randomly finds Joan Lee. Oh, we're still in love, okay?
I can't believe for over a year I've lived less than a quarter of a mile away from you.
Your head doesn't get out of your ass very much, does it? They go to meet the contact. Oh, wait, it wasn't Joan Lee? So wait, then what was he doing there? I don't even care. They keep the contact in the shadows, but her voice clearly gives her away.
I understand that you created a counterfeit mark.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Sister Sandy is back in all her glorious treachery.
Where did you ever get information like that?
Wasn't that why you were meeting her? I don't care. I don't care. Just keep going. Joan Lee recognizes her, but now it's too late. Meanwhile, Diane and Pornstache find Kathy and Billy.
Billy, run to your hideout, quick!
Pornstache chases him. Diane says a bunch of mean things to Kathy, and then...
What in the world?
Oh my god. Sorry. Now remember, Crazy Church said the locust can't kill anybody, so I guess Diane and Kathy are just being tormented for 5 months or something like that. Sucks to be them. Wait a minute, is that Kathy? Is that Crazy Church? Is that... Wait, what's going on? Is he dead? He's being tormented by the locust sting? You're not gonna tell us? Okay. The guards try to get David to tell them where Kathy is. He asks to see Joan Lee. They say only if he tells them what they want to know. He cries instead. Meanwhile, Billy has a bunch of toys and a balloon because that one lady is trying to get him to tell her where Kathy is. That lady, yeah. Sandy, maybe? While they wait to be executed, Joan Lee preaches to Billy that she's going to heaven today.
Does everybody go there?
Well, God would like everybody to go there.
Really?
God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned.
Later, David hears the guillotine and sees the balloon fly into the air.
He was just a child!
But...
What happened to your balloon?
I gave it to Miss Leslie.
There goes my last chance to get laid. They tell David they will execute the child unless he tells them where Kathy is.
Billy, you're free.
Aw, seriously, movie? Was that necessary? Part 3 ends with David being taken to the guillotine. Okay, seriously, what was Billy even doing there in the first place? This is where the theology gets a little bit goofy. Let me rephrase that. This is where the theology gets a little bit goofy, even for the theology. Most Christians justify God allowing children to die by saying children who have not yet reached the age of accountability are automatically going to heaven because they can neither accept nor reject Christ. Billy was 5 days away from being born. That meant he was viable outside of the womb. Should he not have qualified? We know the filmmakers believe something along the lines of this.
When it happened, Jim was taken. And so was Wenda's 18-month-old daughter, Deanna.
He was just over a year, when Christ returned and took the Christians in the rapture. I lost both he and his mother.
So why did these filmmakers and writers, I am talking about you, Russ, decide that an 18-month-old and a 1-year-old would be raptured, but not an unborn baby perfectly viable outside of the womb? One possible reason is the writers were so concerned with trying to be dramatically interesting, they completely ignored their theology, which is not good for a preachy film that is literally only being made because of the theology. Another reason could be they decided that an unborn baby does not qualify yet as a human, or does not have a soul, which really flies in the face of many pro-lifers and Christian beliefs that life begins at conception. Either way, my point is, Christians, y'all need to start getting mad at these people finally with us, that's all. Don't watch this. I did it, but I did it for you. You're welcome.